I have not stopped pushing this argument over and over and over again. Okay. They dropped this vid, saw it go super viral and get good press, then never did it again. The only thing that might be able to explain their media strategy is that they just don't want to work. Yeah, I think that, I mean, this was like boring overall, but I think it like humanized both of the candidates, I guess, for people that do care. I don't really think that this is that big of a deal. What I do think is a big deal is the amount of momentum and the amount of positive coverage Kamala Harris got by not being Joseph Robinette Biden, the amount of momentum and enthusiasm that swung in her direction that genuinely changed the trajectory of the race. Okay. The race went from Joseph Robinette Brandon losing the race to Donald Trump to Kamala Harris actually potentially winning the race against Donald Trump. And since then, it seems like since the Waltz pick, especially, that carried more of that momentum, they have been desperately trying to be like, no, we are literally Joe Biden. I promise you we're Joe Biden. I beg you to understand this is the Joe Biden ticket. You love Joe Biden, right? You love Joe Biden a lot. We are Joe Biden, which is very weird. I've been saying this for months. Kamala Harris had momentum because she wasn't Biden. Now that she spent most of the post-Tim Walz VP pick cycle running as though she is Biden, she's losing that momentum. Yes, I have this ready to go as well. Harris's debate challenge, pushing ahead without leaving Biden behind. Okay, that's dumb as she should literally drop Biden. You are stupid if you don't recognize that that is what the people want. Like, there are so many aspects of Joseph Robinette Brandon's administration that Kamala Harris genuinely benefited from, like, seemingly not being a part of, despite the fact that she was the vice president. The entire time, the Donald Trump candidacy has been actively trying to tie her now to the Joseph Robinette Brandon administration, despite the fact that she was like a lesser known VP who was just like running around doing all the shittiest jobs that you could possibly do, including serving the top of the hour ad breaks. Okay. People see her race and gender and think she's more progressive. That initially worked both ways. Young and progressive voters were excited and more conservative voters were opposed. As time has gone on, the right wing sees her gender and race and continues to oppose her, but progressives see her running to the right on policy and stop liking her. She managed to walk the path of defeat. Exactly. Always expect the Democrats to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Okay? Always. They will always do it, and they're doing it now. What did I tell you? I said Kamala Harris needs to activate, okay? Needs to activate the Obama 2008 coalition of voters. She needs to go progressive, and she needs to motivate younger voters. She needs to motivate more progressively minded voters, the voting blocks that were leaving Joseph Robinette Brandon behind, because Joseph Robinette Brandon's projected path to victory relied on college educated white voters. Okay. It relied on old conservative former Republican Party voters swapping out for the Brandon ticket. Some of those people are not going to turn around and vote for a black woman. Okay. That is a reality. That is a reality. These were not like diehard Biden loyalists. They simply saw Donald Trump as a issue. Okay. And this dramatically changed the legislative trajectory of the Democratic Party, because they were just like, oh, we are now Republican. We are officially, openly the Republican Party. We are the former Republican Party. As the Democratic Party, we are now the former Republican Party. Okay. If you love the former Republican Party, come vote for us. The funny thing is they pick Walz because he was good on TV and are now hiding him because they are scared to actually have a policy agenda and defend it. That is what is genuinely frustrating. I thought that they would have recognized that Tim Walz was going to lock them into progressive policies and defending those progressive policies. That's why I thought that pick was consequential. That's why I thought that pick was meaningful. And now, where the fuck is Tim Walz? They're making him do radio slots in Minnesota, man. They're making him do radio interviews, bro. It's insane how well she was doing when she was going by her instincts, and now that she's listening to Biden campaign losers, she starts falling off. Pathetic. Yeah, they just don't want to win. That's it, dude. There's no other rhyme or reason for the way that they have been behaving. They just don't want to win. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I just, like, it doesn't make any sense. There's not a single reality where Minnesota won't be blue, which is even funnier. I mean, Tim Walz is phenomenal for the blue wall Rust Belt. Okay. He's great for that. Literally just ship his ass, make his ass do a circle, okay, from Western Pennsylvania all the way to motherfucking Idaho, okay, and just rinse and repeat. Make him run circles in that region. That's it. From this moment all the way till November 5th. You mean Iowa? Sorry, Iowa, sure. Whatever. The entire area, the entire Rust Belt region, he should just be spinning around. He should be spinning the fucking block, okay? Fuck it. Go to goddamn Wyoming, dude. That's all I'm saying. I understand why it's hard to do, but Harris needs to find some ways to separate herself, not just in the vibe terms, but in some real policy terms from Biden. Yeah, here it is. Do you think the next president should represent a major change from Joe Biden, a minor change, or no change from Joe Biden? Minor change at 32%, no change at 3%, major change at 63%. This doesn't seem really good for the incumbency, doesn't it? It almost seems like the incumbent advantage is gone, okay? It's gone. And we knew that already because Biden is no longer running for president. Why is he no longer running for president? Because the Democratic Party recognized that Biden had no pathway to victory. Do you think Kamala Harris represents change or more of the same? Is that a major change? And then there's a follow-up. Is that a major change or a minor change? Okay. 56% of people asked said more of the same. 25% said major change. 15% said minor change. 56% said more of the same. And that number is going to increase the more she comes out and says, I am basically Joe Biden, but younger and a black woman. Okay. If she keeps doing that, she's cooked. I have not stopped pushing this argument over and over and over again. Okay. That's why every time I see Biden on the campaign trail, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? I don't know how many times I've talked about it from this point on since the swap out. Okay. I don't know how many times I've tweeted about it at this point. And I also told you that the Democrats, when I went to the DNC and I saw the vibes and I saw how excited people were, how much they were doing victory laps as though they had 10 points on Trump in Pennsylvania or some shit, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the are these people doing? They're out of their goddamn minds. Her entire policy page was a copy-paste Biden-Harris platform. She's running back into the cold embrace of a dead campaign that literally led her to becoming the nominee. It doesn't make sense. Why doesn't it make sense? Because Kamala would not be running for president right now as the candidate if the Biden campaign was doing great. Okay? So the very reason why you're running should cause you to understand that, like, people denied the Biden administration a second term. They didn't want it. These poll results reflect that reality. So why the fuck would you go, well, let me go back and hug the campaign that was so bad that it led me into becoming the face of the candidacy? If this trajectory continues, and for the record, I will say this, and it seemingly is going to continue with no real changes, no real differences, this race is no longer a lock for Kamala Harris in the way that I said it was, okay? And I don't think she's going to change anything during the debate because she has shown you time and time again since the Tim Walz pick, she has shown you time and time again that no, this is the nothing will fundamentally change ticket. Today's numbers after some further mediocre new polling for Harris lead down to 2.3 points in our national average after a peak of 4.3, which wasn't enough anyway. It has to be plus 5 regardless. The debate is well timed for her, at least in terms of having a chance to regain that momentum. But basically, the mediocre new polls like New York Times and Pew are landing exactly where our model thought they would after Harris got very little convention bounce. So that convention bounce adjustment y'all were complaining about is looking fairly prescient. They should hire you for real. You say something and people call you and say names, then time passes and bang, you were right. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Me being right, but too early to the game is honestly significantly worse than me being wrong consistently, but in favor of what the Democratic Party is pushing for. Nobody gives a people don't care. People don't want to be, people just don't want someone to tell them like, you're wrong. Okay. The feelings that you have right now, the feelings that you have currently are just wrong. They're incorrect. They only remember how embarrassed they felt in that moment when Streamer Man told them that they were wrong. Okay. And when they are proven to be wrong, they still remember that feeling, and maybe that feeling gets even worse. So they consistently develop even more resentment. I have a huge problem with Nate's cockiness here. He's not only adjusting all the polls in Trump's favor by 2% after the fact because of the convention bump, but also adds all the right-wing flood polls that with odds in 2022 and weighs them higher than neutral polls. And the New York Times and Pew both weigh an environment of 4 to 5 points right at 2020. Polling is broken. Rant. This part is not wrong. You're not wrong. But the reason why pollsters are doing this is because Donald Trump does have a capacity to outperform the polls historically, both in 2016 by even larger margins, but in 2020 as well by at least 2 to 4 points. That's the reason why they're adjusting for it. There's a reason why pollsters are adjusting for it, not because they're like in the tank for Donald Trump and they love Donald Trump. Obviously, there isn't like this massive conspiracy. They just don't want to get it wrong. Their job is to literally try and adequately analyze the situation with the highest accuracy possible. So if consistently Donald Trump has the capacity to activate non-voters that are not represented in polls with regular frequency and has been able to do that in 2016 to obviously cause like a massive collapse of the confidence that people had in polls, and even in 2020 when he was able to activate enough non-voters, Donald Trump still ended up outperforming the polls in 2020 as well. That's the reason why they're overcorrecting in this regard. The 2 to 4 points does not account for consistent Democratic overperformance since Dobbs, a position people consistently point to Trump for. They're consistently using R+3 to R+5 samples, despite the fact that the general elector has shifted a bit to the left. I think the reason why they're doing R+3, R+5 samples is because of what I just said, which is that there are a lot of non-represented voters that Donald Trump seemingly is really good at activating. Why do you think he's like aligning with RFK Jr.? Why do you think he's got the Tulsi Gabbard weirdos and cranks? Like, these people don't have massive constituencies, like personally, but the podcaster vote, the podcaster like right-wing crank guy who believes in conspiracies is like a person that's out there. I don't know how big those numbers will look like when push comes to shove, but that I think is the reason why pollsters are adding a little, bump to Donald Trump. The reason why Trump outperforms in the polls is very well understood. His base of support is non-college educated whites, which have always been tougher to poll than other groups. As the separation based on education continues to open up, the harder it is to poll. Remember, he gets low propensity white conservatives to turn out that don't vote for other people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. That is the reason. Nate Silver is also trying to blame him being wrong in 2016 on 538 in their model as opposed to him. Yeah, I don't really place a lot of emphasis on Nate Silver's model or the way that he conducts his analysis. I don't really care. I'm simply more interested in the way that Americans actually vote. Vibes, okay? Vibes are not good. Let me tell you. The vibes and the momentum is not good right now, okay? It's not good. Donald Trump should not be getting a single... HasanAbi is way more of a Lichman guy. Yeah, dude, the 13 keys, baby. What is it that would make people who say this is just the same as Biden, who helped him win in 2020, make them randomly decide to just flip the switch and vote red? I don't think it's about turning those guys red. I think it's turning them out to vote again. And the Kamala Harris campaign is having a hard time with this. It could have had a much easier time. Bro literally ignores any comments about donors and speculates about why Dems are running to the right, acts like donors and moneyed interests don't exist and Dem candidates are just veering right because they think it's good tactics. You're right. I never talk about moneyed interest in politics. Thank you. Is this your first time? Account created in 2012, like paying attention to politics? Is this your first time in the broadcast? Do you think you just came up with like a phenomenal perspective here? What's going on? Wow, dude. This right here is akin to being like, actually, I'll have you know, free healthcare is not literally free. Okay, smart guy. Thanks, dude. That's the reason, though, man. You act surprised, but we all know why they move, right? Dog, I know what the reason is. I have literally talked so consistently about this. What are you talking about? What is one of the most common things I talk about with respect to Democrats consistently running to the center? I'm not talking to the Democratic Party. I'm talking to you. Right now, I'm making an argument as to why this is a stupid thing that they're doing. Okay? When I'm talking to you, voters, okay, or talking to you, just regular old people and not Democratic Party operatives, there's no reason to just consistently bring up that point over and over again. I know that already. I'm the guy that says that. What do you mean? Ridiculous. Why do I always tell you Democrats, even when they run on progressive policies, never actually conduct those progressive policies. Why? Wow, it's shocking that they just like said that they were going to do shit and then didn't end up doing it. I wonder why they didn't do that. Oh, perhaps it has something to do with the fact that both parties are still in the pocket for the same corporate interests. Okay. That's why most of these corporations fund both of these parties. Okay. Almost an exact 50-50 split, sometimes 49-51. Doesn't really matter ultimately. Do you think I'm oblivious to this reality? Anyway, all right.